All right, welcome back, everybody. This is Talking with a Good Man. I'm Jay Goodman. This is letter 7.
My dear Wormwood, I wonder you should ask me whether it is essential to keep the patient in ignorance of your own existence. That question, at least for the present phase of the struggle, has been answered for us by the High Command. Our policy for the moment is to conceal ourselves. Of course, this has not always been so. We are really faced with a cruel dilemma. When the humans disbelieve in our existence, we lose all the pleasing results of direct terrorism, and we make no magicians. On the other hand, when they believe in us, we cannot make them materialists and skeptics. At least not yet. I have great hopes that we shall learn in due time how to emotionalize and mythologize their science to such an extent that what is in effect a belief in us, though not under that name, will creep in while the human mind remains closed to the belief in the enemy. The life force, the worship of sex, and some aspects of psychoanalysis may here prove useful. If once we can produce our perfect work, the materialist magician, the man, not using, but veritably worshipping what he vaguely calls forces, while denying the existence of spirits, then the end of the war will be in sight. But in the meantime, we must obey our orders. I do not think you will have much difficulty in keeping the patient in the dark. The fact that devils are predominantly comic figures in the modern imagination will help you. If any faint suspicion of your existence begins to arise in his mind, suggest to him a picture of something in red tights, and persuade him that since he cannot believe in that, it is an old textbook method of confusing them, he therefore cannot believe in you. I had not forgotten my promise to consider whether we should make the patient an extreme patriot or an extreme pacifist. All extremes, except extreme devotion to the enemy, are to be encouraged. Not always, of course, but at this period. Some ages are lukewarm and complacent, and then it is our business to soothe them yet faster asleep. Other ages, of which the present is one, are unbalanced and prone to faction, and it is our business to inflame them. Any small coterie, bound together by some interest which other men dislike or ignore, tends to develop inside itself a hothouse mutual admiration, and towards the outer world a great deal of pride and hatred which is entertained without shame, because the cause is its sponsor, and it is thought to be impersonal. Even when the little group exists originally for the enemy's own purposes, this remains true. We want the church to be small, not only that fewer men may know the enemy, but also that those who do may acquire the uneasy intensity and the defensive self-righteousness of a secret society or a clique. The church it herself is, of course, heavily defended, and we have never yet quite succeeded in giving her all the characteristics of a faction. But subordinate factions within her have often produced admirable results, from the parties of Paul and of Apollos at Corinth down to the high and low parties in the Church of England. If your patient can be induced to become a conscientious objector, he will automatically find himself one of a small, vocal, organized, and unpopular society, and the effects of this on one so new to Christianity will almost certainly be good. But only almost certainly. Has he had serious doubts about the lawfulness of serving in a just war before this present war began? Is he a man of great physical courage, so great that he will have no half-conscious misgivings about the real motives of his pacifism? Can he, when nearest to honesty, no human is ever very near, feel fully convinced that he is actuated wholly by the desire to obey the enemy? If he is that sort of man, his pacifism will probably not do us much good, and the enemy will probably protect him from the usual consequences of belonging to a sect. Your best plan in that case would be to attempt a sudden, confused, emotional crisis from which he might emerge as an uneasy convert to patriotism. Such things can often be managed. But if he is the man I take him to be, try pacifism. Whichever he adopts, your main task will be the same. Let him begin by treating the patriotism or the pacifism as a part of his religion. Then let him, under the influence of partisan spirit, come to regard it as the most important part. Then quietly and gradually nurse him on to the stage at which the religion becomes merely part of the cause, in which Christianity is valued chiefly because of the excellent arguments it can produce in favor of the British war effort or of pacifism. The attitude which you want to guard against is that in which temporal affairs are treated primarily as material for obedience. Once you have made the world an end and faith a means, you have almost won your man, and it makes very little difference what kind of worldly end he is pursuing. Provided that meetings, pamphlets, policies, movements, causes, and crusades matter more to him than prayers and sacraments and charity, he is ours. And the more religious on those terms, the more securely ours. I could show you a pretty cageful down here. Your affectionate uncle, Screwtape. That is letter 7.
We're on letter 7. A lot has happened to get to this point. I don't know. I didn't mention this in my video yesterday, but letter 6 was very, very difficult to do for some reason. I feel like as I'm going, it's getting harder to do. I feel like Satan might be behind this. So I want to welcome back Jim Beckman. Thank you for being here again, and you'll see him every Friday. So welcome back.
Yeah, absolutely. Good to be with you.
Yeah.
If you want to kind of tango with the devil, you're getting into dangerous territory. So anytime that I've ever done something with, something like Screwtape Letters or talking about spiritual warfare or, trying to help people understand the way that the enemy operates in our life, I just experience all kinds of I call it the riffraff of the spiritual realm, So you're
It's true.
what you're experiencing is probably all legitimate.
Okay. I thought it was, I don't know why I would think this, but I thought it was a fluke and just like my fault or something. And then I started thinking about it and rereading a couple Screwtape letters, and it's just interesting. I'm literally a few times I've been living out a little bit of what's happening in each letter that we're seeing. It's really weird.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, last night I gotta say, and I hope, yeah, I'll put this out there that I could not have done that video, literally not at all been able to do it without my wife. And
Oh,
yeah, I woke up this morning and she was awake on her phone doing something for her world that she lives in. That's my wife. And I said, hey, honey, I can't. I grabbed her hand and held her face, and I said, I could not have done last night without you. Seriously, I'm not just saying it to be nice. I told her that. I said it would not have happened without your direct help. And she goes, I want to be your helpmate, and that's what I'm
yeah.
for. And I said, you're just amazing, and I kissed her and I said, thank you. And
Well,
so,
that's awesome.
yeah, yeah,
Well, and that's a great testimony in some ways of like the spiritual stuff that's around our lives all the time, particularly around our families. I think those of us who are married and have children, like the enemy is always at work, and he's always trying to do his ultimate aim, which is what Screwtape Letters is all about. He's trying to consume a soul, every soul, right? And there's great power in the sacrament of our marriage that most couples don't actually take advantage of, are not completely aware of, and don't know how to wield the power. It's like having a powerful gun, but never taking it out of the case, not understanding the weapon that you have and how to use it.
yeah,
So maybe having enough knowledge to pull the gun out of the case, but don't know how to load or lock the chamber, or how to put any ammunition in it.
yeah,
So what you experience with your wife is actually one of the great weapons, at our disposal, is our marriage. Particularly in the lives of our kids. Our marriages. Like I can't tell you how many times over the years Meg and I just pray, but together, for something going on in one of our kids' lives, and how powerful it is. So that's
oh
awesome.
yeah, yeah, it's so true. And yeah, it's very weird spiritually.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I'll just say, in Marlon De La Torre study guide, thanks for saying that, Jim, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. Yeah, so we're in chapter 7, and I guess Marlon De La Torre study guide, the title is A Wolf in Sheep's Clothing. And the theme verse sort of to go along with this is James 3, 6-7. It says, the tongue is an unrighteous world among our members, staining the whole body, setting on fire the cycle of nature, and set on fire by hell. With it we bless the Lord and Father, and with it we curse men who are made in the likeness of God. From the same mouth come blessing and cursing. So I'll hand it over to you.
Yeah. Well, I find it kind of comical, what we're already talking about, and how, letter 7 is really kind of starts out with Wormwood, kind of wrestling with whether or not he should reveal himself to his patient.
Yeah.
Should he reveal himself, and Screwtape kind of warning against that, and actually saying, look, the direction from on high, from high command, is that we keep ourselves hidden, conceal ourselves. So that's probably why Marlon went to that verse about a wolf in sheep's clothing. The enemy always tries to disguise himself as something good.
Yeah.
Didn't you love the paragraph? It's kind of the end of that first full paragraph where he's talking about if we can keep them almost mythologizing about the existence of evil. And I just love the way that he says this, like we want to try to get them to believe in us, but remain closed to the belief in the enemy. And wow, when you just look at everything going on in the world, I think this is a big part of reality right now. Obviously, it was beginning back in the time when C.S. Lewis wrote this, but like one of the most popular shows on TV is Lucifer.
Yeah. Right.
And isn't that crazy? Like,
yeah.
Like in our time, because it really, any other generation ahead of us, no one would have been as bold as that. You know what I'm saying? Like, to actually title the show with the name of Satan, and then it would actually gain popularity, and people would be watching it. And I've even had Christians and Catholics who have said that they watched the show and it's like, it's actually not that bad. And they get kind of drawn into the storyline of it, and
it probably is really good.
Yeah. So I don't know, it's just like it's fascinating to me that this is how the enemy operates, right? Like he actually wants you, like they've almost won the game if they can get you to believe in spirits and devils, but not understand that they're actually our mortal enemy.
Yeah.
Like, and what if we actually would believe that they're actually okay? Like, I'm going off on a tangent here, but have you ever heard of the Catholic author Michael O'Brien? He wrote a bunch of Catholic fiction books, which were really good. Father Elijah was one of his works, and but he wrote a nonfiction book called The Landscape of the Dragons. And it really was a lot of this kind of concept of how the enemy operates, and is sometimes very hidden to us. But there's a very intentional effort going on in the modern time that's almost trying to flip everything around, right? So his whole book, Landscape of the Dragons, was trying to expose all of this modern literature that was making dragons the good guy, making witches and warlocks and things like that, which were typically always associated with evil, like flipping that all around, where they're actually the one that you're rooting for. They're the good, the protagonist, not the antagonist. And so it's really a fascinating book talking about all of that stuff. But
Wow.
I digress.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I thought, so I've never seen Game of Thrones. I've never seen the preview for it. I want nothing to do with that show, and I feel like I've known a lot of Christians, fellow Christians who, and I mean, Catholic Christians who love it, think it's an amazing show. And I'm like, you're glorifying rape and incest, and like, it's an awful, awful show. And
Yeah,
now they've got
I
Lucifer.
have never watched it.
Oh yeah.
But I was at a conference once, sitting at a table with a bunch of priests, and they were talking, going on and on and on about Game of Thrones. And
Uh-oh.
part of me was just like, I can't believe, the conversation that I'm in right now, that these are priests that are watching this, and so at a certain point, I was asking a couple of questions to just understand what was so intriguing about it to you or to them, and why did they like it, and so like they were talking about the storyline and all the character development and the different factions and the wars and all of the stuff, which it did sounds very fascinating, and I can see how that would be a hook into that compelling story. But I just at a certain point said, but isn't it just kind of softcore pornography?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there was just this like dead silence at the table, like awkward silence,
Who invited
then
this guy?
at a certain point, one of the priests said, yes, actually, yes, it is. And I was like, well, then I'm kind of glad that I have never watched it. And it was just the end of the conversation, and I'm sure everyone walked away, like, what a fuddy-duddy, but I don't really care. Like anyone who's a priest, or anyone who's like wanting to grow in holiness, particularly men, like, the scriptures say, put no evil thing before your eye. Don't expose yourself to things like this that would actually lead you to temptation and could ultimately lead you down the pathway to sin, So good encouragement for us,
Well, and I speak from a stance of never, ever, ever having watched anything bad in my life. That's
Yeah,
I,
exactly. Yeah.
I am a big
Yeah, you and
hypocrite.
me
I mean,
both, right?
yeah,
I think I'm at the front of the list of bad choices on that front.
yeah. Well, I feel the same way. Well,
Yeah.
and I've always raised my boys, and I just had a conversation with Dominic. Now I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but I mean, it has to do with this. I've always raised them with this concept, as I said, be careful what you see and be careful what you hear, because you can't unsee something once you see it, and you can't unhear something once you hear it. And I said it again to
And you
Dominic.
can't unsay something,
Yes,
right?
yeah, which
Like
is what this is about.
trying to put toothpaste back in the toothpaste tube,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dominic was listening to something, and I said, "What are you listening to? That is so loud." And he was really angry about something that had happened, and he said, "It's Metallica." I'm like, I go, Dominic, there's a couple of their songs that are really well done, but and I don't mind you listening to them because it's really like they're really good musicians, but I said, don't listen to that kind of music when you're very angry about something, because it's a huge doorway for Satan to jump right in and kind of
Yeah.
insert thoughts and make you think things that you shouldn't think. And so this goes back to that saying that I taught them, and he's like, okay, Dad, okay, thanks for telling me. And then
Yeah.
he has been changing. So anyway,
That's great.
yeah.
Well, I think the rest of letter 7, it kind of sticks with this theme that at least we were talking about a week ago. And I think this is one of the predominant threads through the whole book is Satan works in ways that are very hidden and deceptive. And one of the primary things that he wants to do to us is distract us from what's really important and keep us kind of always foggy and vague about our answers and our definitions to things. Um he talks about halfway through the letter, where um all extremes except extreme devotion to the enemy are to be encouraged. So, and what he's meaning by that is, look, it doesn't really matter what the extreme is. We actually don't really care what people believe. We just want to get them to pick a cause, and it doesn't even really matter what the cause is. Just get them to be extreme about it, because it's going to consume a bunch of energy and a bunch of attention. And that's attention that's actually not on God. And now we have them, right? So he talks about some ages are lukewarm and complacent, and then it's our business to soothe them faster asleep. Other ages, of which the present one is, are unbalanced and prone to faction. And in those ages, it's our business to inflame them. Well, what kind of age do you think we're living in right now?
That very thing.
Yeah. I mean, if you've ever seen a time in our history where we're more prone to factions and like little fire bursts of, you know what I mean? Like I could say one thing wrong and the whole world could react against me and cancel me and shut me off or whatever,
Yeah.
like we're living in one of those times, but I think almost to an extreme, so that's the subtle activity of the enemy is get us to be extreme like that, get us to be reactionary, get us to be easily offended, get us to to be where we don't actually notice the person, the human, the dignity of the human person that we're encountering, but we're going to react to their beliefs or to their causes or their things that we don't agree with.
Yeah.
And that, like keep us in that space all the time,
Yeah.
like towards it's like the end of the second to last paragraph, he says, your best plan would be to attempt a sudden, confused, emotional crisis from which he might emerge as an uneasy convert to patriotism. So again, like it doesn't matter what the cause is. Patriotism, okay. Political party, okay. Political candidate, okay. It really doesn't matter. Like just get a cause that you think you can sell, and then just get his mind, quietly and gradually nurse him on the stage at which the religion becomes merely a part of the cause, right?
Yeah.
So faith actually isn't the end. Heaven isn't the end. The world is actually the end. Doesn't he actually say that? Yeah. Only when you've made
Yeah.
the world an end and faith a means, you almost have your man. It makes very little difference what kind of worldly end he's pursuing. Maybe he wants to be rich, or maybe he wants to have the worldly end that's all peace, and we're fighting for world peace. Maybe he wants the world where he has all kinds of power and influence and he's popular and everyone loves him. It doesn't matter, just get him on some cause that's distracting him from what the real thing is, which is, abandoning himself wholly to the Lord and making it to heaven,
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, I feel like the road, and I know you've heard this a million times, but the road to hell is very, very wide, and that's in the Bible. And the road to heaven is a narrow path. And I kind of picture this tiny little dirt path off to the left that's covered in bushes that goes to heaven. And you've got this huge path that everybody's like, come on, let's go. This is the right way. And you're like, no, it's over there. No, it's not. That's like overgrown. That's not over there. But
yeah.
that's where you need to go.
Yeah, it's the broad highway with all the neon lights and signs and allurements that make it look, not only is everybody on that road, but it just looks so attractive. Like, oh my gosh, there's so many cool things that we could do while we're going on the road. Yeah, and like you said, the other road, St. John of the Cross has a great image of, he calls it the ascent of Mount Carmel, and it's like this obscure path up a mountain and around, navigating around all kinds of seeming obstacles, and it's a hard climb, and like his mantra climbing, ascending Mount Carmel is nada, nothing. Nothing, right? Like I don't need anything. I shouldn't want for anything. I don't have to grasp for anything. Like I actually want my whole thing to be like, I don't want anything other than just to get up to the top of the mountain, make that my sole desire. Powerful.
Yeah, very much.
Good
Thank
stuff,
you, Jay.
man.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Great.
Thanks for
being
doing
with
this
you today.
again.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. You heard it. Jim Beckman, letter 7. Thank you, guys.
Keep after it,
All
man.
right.
Keep on the hard journey, and don't succumb to discouragement. Persevere, because that's
Yes.
the invitation from the Lord is a great one to us.
So that's it for today. That was an awesome time I had with Jim Beckman. If you'd like to get a hold of me, my email, as always, is jgoodman.deepadventure@gmail.com. You can find me on bearschoolofmanliness.com. And once you get signed up and start your choose your monthly plan or your yearly plan, you'll be involved with a lot of men from around the country and internationally that come on Zoom once every other week for meetings where we have a guest speaker and really encourage each other and come together. And then basically what Bear's done is he's taken everything that Facebook is and incorporated it into the website so you can interact with other men and have it be private, so you can share your heart and encourage each other and say, I'm praying for you, pray for me, and just really have that interaction with other like-minded men in the Catholic world. So if you'd like more information about that, you can go ahead and email me. I will answer any questions you have. Lastly, if you feel in your heart to give, my Venmo is @jgoodman75, @JAYGoodman75, or teamdojo@gmail.com. And with that, that's it for today. It went a little long today, but I think everything Jim said was definitely needed and absolutely amazing. So I will see you all Monday morning for letter 8.